Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. How do you keep your energy up when you're in the middle of heavy wedding and event season? Listen to this episode and find out. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, sales trainer, consultant, author, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have a little more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hey, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I am so excited to have my friend Carolyn Strauss on to talk about keeping your energy up. Carolyn, speaking of energy, how you doing?
I am great. Alan, how are you? And I just find it so fun when you and I get together because there are so many things that we have in common and different. And besides the wedding business, I mean, it is the coolest, I think the most special business that there is.
Yeah, yeah.
Coming from somebody who's never been married, by the way. I want to give you the perspective of I've emceed events all over the world. I was actually asked one time if I wanted to what do they call it? Like
officiate.
do wedding officiate. That's the word I was
Yeah,
looking for.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually was asked to do that by a company here. And I thought, no, you should have somebody who's who's a little more godly, maybe. I don't know.
No, listen, but I think you would be amazing at it, right? But again, we get together, we just start talking about all different things. And we were recently at a conference together in frigid Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Oh, but you kept us warm.
Well, a little bit of
You kept
whiskey,
us warm with your whiskey. That
a little bit of
whiskey goes
whiskey.
down so warm and yummy. Thank you for that, Alan.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. I will have more the next time. So, uh, but one of the things that came up is just talking about keeping the energy up. Now, we as speakers have the same thing. Like you're going back to back to back to back to events. I have something coming up where it's 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to be in Vegas, then I'm going to be in Florida, probably with another event in between that. How do you keep that energy up? So the same thing with wedding and event pros. You're in heavy season and you might have events on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and then and then Friday and Saturday and Sunday and again. So what are some of the things that you found that you want to share with the audience here about how to just keep that energy going?
So, for your audience who doesn't know me, I did live television for 18 years. I was on the Home Shopping Network and I sold pull on polyester pants and matching tops and matching skirts and matching dresses. And I had to, every time I went on air, talk about and get excited about pull on polyester pants. Now, I can talk for 8 minutes about pull on polyester pants. But the point is, after I did it for a year, so I was on at least once a month, and we had basically the same basic bottoms, either wide leg or narrow leg or cropped or petite, average, tall, all of it. But it was still pull on polyester pants. And what I had to remind myself is that many of the people who were tuning in to HSN, the television, had never seen me before. They had never seen me talk about pull on polyester pants. They had never had the experience of what it's like for me to stretch it and pull it and hold it up to the models. So when I think about the wedding business or the event business in general, because that's the industry that you and I are in, Alan, but the wedding business, what we have to remember is that for many people, this is the most important day of their lives. I mean, I know that's obvious for your entire audience. You guys all know that. But given that sometimes we may forget that and we're just going through the motions. What I used to do is put myself in the position of, okay, so if I'm home sitting on my couch, watching this show at this moment, what do I want to hear? What do I want to see? And what do I want to feel in order to take action? So, as a wedding planner, I imagine that if you just stop in the middle of the hectic of getting the food set up and the alcohol and the band and everything, and just stop for a moment and go, okay, what is Grandma Nancy sitting in the audience need to experience at this moment? What one tweak can I make right now where the bride will go, oh, that's special? Because our job, in the event industry, but your job, I believe, as wedding event planners, is to create special moments and special memories. And the way I talked about it for years is that how memories are formed with a time, an experience, or an emotion or a place. Time, place, emotion, experience. Okay. Think about a wedding. It has all of it. It is a directed time, a certain amount of hours or a weekend, or, however long the wedding is going to be.
Yeah.
It's the place. So the place has got to be special and it will be ingrained in that memory. And then these experience, what are they experience? And then what emotion is attached? So if we look at weddings, like I look at events from those 4 points of view, the time, the place, the emotion, the experience, if we look at all of that and go, okay, what one thing can I tweak at this moment to affect one of those 4 things?
Yeah. Now, I always think about it just as a consumer. The experience is not just at the event. The experience starts way before that. And just think about yourself as a consumer. You walk in, is the person smiling? Right? Walk up to the counter. Does the person smile? Do they make eye contact? Doesn't have to be creepy eye contact, but do they make eye contact? And are you feeling the presence? When I do a trade show, sometimes I'll have a friend helping me in the trade shows. There's one big conference Carolyn and I do. There's 5,000 people come to this, and there's often a line of people waiting to talk to me, right? And my
As there
friend said,
should be.
well, thank
As
you.
there should be at all times.
Thank you.
You should actually start a queue outside your office for your kids to have to line up to come talk to you. I think that's how it should be with you, Alan.
Yeah, well, they were empty nesters now, so that's good. There's no more line. We're good.
Okay.
Just the grandson. But he's one. Not he's one. He's the only one, so he gets all the attention. There you go. Exactly. So what my friend Brian said is, you're just present with everybody. Like when you're talking to that person, you're present with them. And I said, yeah, because I know what it's like to feel like that person is not being present, that they're looking for the next person they're going to drop you with. And we all have that. And again, this is not just at the wedding. This is when you're communicating with them. Do they feel like a number? When you're in person, on the phone, on Zoom, are they paying attention? This is the kind of this whole experience thing of how are they going to feel about the experience? And then, like you said, keeping in mind everybody there. So one thing that I say is every time they say yes to you, now think about this, Carolyn, every time they bring you to speak, they've said no to everybody else.
Right.
And
it's huge.
And I call it a privilege. It is a privilege when we're on a stage. It's a privilege when they ask you to be the DJ, the florist, the officiant at the wedding, because they're saying no to absolutely everybody else. And yet you see people who, we're talking about the energy here, right? You did a wedding on Friday, you did a wedding on Saturday, now it's on Sunday. They don't want you to be the tired person on Sunday.
And what you did that weekend is none of their business.
Right.
Right. We should, when I went on television, I had all kinds of stuff going on in my life, because I was on for 18 years. So a lot of things happened over the course of 18 years.
Yeah.
And what happened before I went on camera had nothing to do with what I was there to do. So if you can be present. Now, one of the things I talk about in my speeches now, what I'm known for is how to make you, your company, or your product irresistible. And one of the things that I believe that wedding event professionals can do to be irresistible is to be centered and clear. One of the things that's happening in the world right now is the pace of change and how fast things are moving and how disruptive things are at all times. So what if every moment you went, okay, how can I be centered and how can I be clear? Because events are hectic. And those people who put them on, weddings especially, because things happen. The dog runs off with the ring. It happens, right? Or you have it planned out on, the mountains of Colorado where I live, and it snows. So there are things that happen. So do you have a tent that's available, right?
Right.
But if you stay calm, one of the things that makes you irresistible and magnetic now is when you're calm, people will gravitate to that and people will want to work with you because they know that they can trust you, that they're safe. So how do you be safe during the entire experience from the before, the during, and the after?
Right. Because it's contagious, the calm, it's also contagious, the frantic, right? If they see you with your hair on fire, they're going to have their hair on fire, right? You need to be the calm. I think you often need to be the swan gliding gently across the water, paddling like mad underneath, because it is so many things going on, but we have to deal with that situation. So the whole idea of energy though, right? Let's say it's 6 months into your season, you've been doing weddings every weekend and you're tired. I mean, you're human. You're going to be tired. What are some of the things you can do to maybe not overcome that? Because tired is still tired is as tired does, right? What are
Right.
some of the things that you've seen that could help people keeping that energy up when, like you said, they don't want to see the tired DJ?
Right. So there are lots of ways, right? So we are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual beings as humans.
Mhm.
So first we got to take care of our biology. So are you drinking enough water? Have you moved? Have you stretched? Have you taken the 10 deep breaths that it takes to get oxygen into your brain? You ever done this exercise, Alan, with people like maybe at a conference or when you're speaking? What I do when I work with CEOs sometimes is I actually have them take a really deep breath. It's kind of like a yoga breath and go in as hard as you can and hold it and then let it out and then do it again and then let it out. Do it again. If you get dizzy on the third breath, which I would say more than 50% of the people do, that's because you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain on a regular basis. So
Okay.
I'm serious. It's as simple as going somewhere where there's air that's hopefully kind of fresh and or stand in front of the air conditioner or something if it's a warm day and take like I say 10 deep breaths, but if you don't have time, just three really deep breaths to get some oxygen to your brain. Next thing is water. Water is liquid oxygen. It's H2Os. So it's more oxygen than breathing. So take some water and drink a huge glass of water. So handle your biology. Then, if we're physical, then we're mental. What are you saying to yourself that will get you through this wedding? Not, oh my God, I've been doing this for 6 months. It's another wedding. I'm tired. I just really want to go home and go to sleep. That's one conversation you could have. But the other conversation you could have is, I am so lucky that this group, this couple is trusting me. How lucky am I? And I love the framing of luck. Like you said, the privilege. It's the privilege, it's the luck that they have chosen me of all of the other options to be here and witness this sacred moment in their lives. Wow. So then it's the how lucky am I? Right. That is just a really cool thing because that shifts the energy. If I say to myself, oh, you know what? It's another wedding. I'm really tired. I can get through it. It'll be fine. I'll get through it and it'll be fine. If I go, I am so lucky. I get to be here for one of the most sacred moments in these people's lives. Okay, let's do this. Even just those words, you can see it in my face, how it actually shifts the contour of your face and the brightness of your eyes. Oh, speaking of the brightness of your eyes, get Lumify. I know you're going to laugh. Have you heard of it?
No.
I used it. I used it today.
Okay.
Lumify are these drops that you can get at any drugstore, Target, anywhere. Lumify, and they're eye drops. And you put one drop in each eye, all of the red goes away. Look at this. All of the
Wow.
red
Wow.
gets out of, look at this. There's no red in my eyes.
Yeah.
It doesn't sting. It doesn't hurt. It's soothing. It's amazing. Anytime I'm in front of an audience, anytime I'm on camera, as I am here with you today,
Right.
and it matters, right? When your eyes are this bright,
Yeah.
people are like, wow, she's awake. See, it would actually make a difference. Even if there's not a lot of red, it
Mhm.
actually, look at that. It actually
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. And that will make you look less tired. And when you walk by and you see yourself in a mirror, male, female, it doesn't matter. You will see yourself and go, okay, I don't look tired. I don't feel tired. I'm fine. Right. So there's the I thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. You know what? Please leave just feel the love. I am love. I am love. I am love. I am peace. I am love. And let that be no matter what is going on, because we're all human and we all have
Right.
tons of disruptions right now. And there's all kinds of stuff going on, but come from love
Yeah.
because that's what a wedding is about. It's about coming from love. Okay. And then there's the spiritual piece. Who lifts you up? Every once in a while, if I've been on the road speaking again and again and again, I will call my best friend who is like positive and loving and supportive and amazing. And before I go on stage, an hour before, I'll call and say, all right, tell me what I'm doing matters. Tell me that I'm going to be great today. Tell me that they're going to get something out of my program. And she says, yes, yes, yes. I ask her to listen from a cheerleader point of view. And I say, be my cheerleader instead of, be my therapist. You can ask people how to listen to you. Do you want them to listen as your advisor? Do you want them to listen as your cheerleader? Do you want them to listen as your therapist? Or do you want them just to listen as a friend? And you can actually ask. So I'll say, okay, I'm calling because I need a cheerleader for the next 5 minutes. I'm about to go on stage. I've been on 10 airplanes this month. I am exhausted. Help me. And she does. And I hang up and I've got the energy. So those are ways to manage your energy. And then there's managing the energy of the space. So it's the questions you can ask. One simple question: what can I do right now to make this better?
I remember working with a venue in Austin, Texas, outside Austin. And the owner had the venue for about 25 years. And I went down there for training. And she said to me, Alan, when the day comes that I send a bride down the aisle that I don't get a little teary, then I know I'm done. Because that's the importance of that. And it goes back to what I said, saying yes to you is saying no to everybody else. I remember showing up at an event where they thought they were going to have a lot of people, and there's like 20 people. And I spoke. And at the end, I don't walk out the back door. I go down. I'm speaking to the guy that brought me in, and he said, "Man, you just brought everything." I said, "Well, I only have one level. It's everything. And if one person showed up, they deserve everything." And this is funny, Carolyn. I actually spoke for one of the National Speakers Association chapters on a virtual, probably during COVID. And the only person that showed up live was the person that asked me to do it. I literally did a
Yep.
webinar for one person,
Yep.
right? But whenever I do a webinar for 1,000 people, I always do it as if I'm doing it for one person,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Because we're picturing them, the value that you honored me with your time right now. Therefore, I'm going to honor you with 100%. And when you've done this and I've done this like all day, and then there's a party at night, and then you speak the next day, and then there's another party, and people are like, man, how do you keep the energy up? I say, I don't turn it off
Okay.
until this is all over. If I turn it off
Exactly.
now, tomorrow ain't happening.
That's funny. If anybody's ever watched the Home Shopping Network, there are things called Today Specials. And you have to get there at 10 o'clock at night for hair and makeup and meetings. And then you're on from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Then you're back on from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 1 to 3 in the afternoon, 5 to 6, and then 8 to 9 at night. It's literally 24 hours of being on. And trying to sleep for that 3 hours between 3 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. was so impossible for me. So literally I would do it, stay up, use more and more concealer, more and more Lumify, right? To look awake on camera, but I wouldn't let it go until it was over. So it's funny you should say about the person who runs the venue who got teary. I have been a professional, we're both CSPs, certified speaking professionals. We've both been professionals for decades. I don't tell you, I'm at least 49 years old between you and me. But for decades, I've been doing this. And there has not been one time, even working with you today, I'm sitting at home in my home studio, but even working with you, there's never been a time that I didn't get that adrenaline kick in my body, in my solar plexus. Remember, we're biological. So I have never not had that. And I have said exactly that. The minute that that doesn't happen before I go on stage, that's the day that I should say thank you and goodbye.
Right. Right. One of my personal philosophies is I don't want to ever give the best speech I can ever give. I just want to give the best I've ever given every time.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps me going is, what did I do to be better? Right. What did I do to be better? I'm tweaking my slides like as I'm walking on stage practically. Right.
That's right.
And it was good enough. Yep. But I found a way to make it better. Therefore I did.
So with weddings, the thing that's beautiful about them is that every single one is unique. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at it as another wedding, I imagine looking at it like, look at the beauty and the energy and the dynamic that this couple or this group chose for this wedding. And how can I, as the wedding expert, how can I take this up one notch? Like, I mean, personally, I think candles are amazing. I think using all of the senses. As a speaker, I try to invoke all of the senses when I speak. Weddings, even more so. I mean, think about the smell of the flowers. Can you turn it up a little bit? Add a candle maybe that has the scent of that particular flower so that as people are walking in, seeing the flowers, get the scent of that, right? Maybe tying that into the chocolates, because a party without chocolates isn't a party, but that's just my own personal feeling. Um, so right, maybe tie it into the right. So I think the privilege, first of all, the privilege of me playing with you, talking about weddings. Um, I I feel like weddings, like I feel about boats. I want to go and hang out with my friends at them and on them, but I don't want to own my own. So, you know why? Because I'd have to commit to one, not commit to one man. That's not what I'm saying, but I'd have to commit to one wedding. And I have 1,000 ideas of how I want to be. So, how I want it to be. But imagine now that you are a wedding event professional, every single one is like a brand new experience for you.
Right. And now there's another side to this, which is so an entertainer friend of mine, Mike Walter. I remember people talking about like the do not playlist and things like this, and DJ saying, I won't play that song. I don't want, I've heard that 1,000 times. And Mike jumped in and said, it's for them, it's not for me. Right. So I might not like this song. Now, there are good reasons for not playing certain songs at weddings, right? The foul language stuff. There's if you were married before, don't play the song that was your first dance at your first wedding. Okay, maybe that kind of stuff. But the idea of I'm not going to play this because I, the DJ, don't like it, but everybody's going to dance to that. And they're going to dance to that. And yeah, maybe it's like one of those switches you could flip and you're going to fill the dance floor. And you've done that 50 times this year already. And do you really want to flip it 51? And the answer is they weren't at the other 50.
Right.
Right. That's the thing here. They weren't there. I think about a performer getting on stage, singing the same song that they've sung 50 times this year is like us getting on stage, giving a speech that we've given before, but not to them. And that's what I always think about is this is the first time I'm giving this speech to them.
And if they've seen it or heard it before, how many times have you watched a sitcom and you see the opening of the sitcom and you sit through the opening credits and it's just an anchor to how lovely that is. So when you're talking about music, what comes to my brain is Cool and the Gang Celebration, right? I do not think there is a more played celebration song, but there's a reason for that. It
Right.
does get people up and moving. It does get people in that celebrate mindset. It is not about you. It's what the event and the bride and groom call for.
Or the bride and bride, or the groom and
But bride and
groom,
bride, right.
or
I'm
what?
sorry.
That's okay.
That
That's all
is
right.
not what I meant.
No, no,
Bride and
no, no,
bride.
no. And
Yeah,
I get, no,
yeah,
I get, but it again is where our mind goes to, right? If you were going to get married, you would be marrying a man. I'm married to a woman. That's where our mind goes to. I think when this has come out, I will have spoken at the Inclusive Wedding Summit, where I'm going to be talking about our inherent biases, right? Like, where I was born, how I was born, who I was born to, all those things. I can't change that. My perspective is coming from New York as a white male, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's just who we are. So anyway, but I
one
think
of my favorite weddings ever was a lesbian wedding.
mm,
It was my former assistant
mm,
and her wife. They got married. It was um my favorite line from that wedding. It's just coming back to me. They said to each other, "Not only will I always be by your side, but I'll always have your back." And I had
nice,
never heard that
right,
at a traditional wedding before.
right,
But that was so, I mean, I got goosebumps now just telling you
yeah.
that, remembering that,
Well,
because
but that's the personalization that regardless of who the couple is, I didn't have that option at my wedding. I got married 41 years ago, and we had a rabbi and a minister, and it was a very, very traditional do you love, honor, cherish, here you go. There was no thought of writing your own vows or doing things like that. And I tell couples now, that's the most important part, because there's no law that says you have to throw a party. And that's the other thing, everybody to think about here. Every time you get hired, there's no law that said they had to hire anybody, because it's all discretionary, right? If you get married, you have a bar mitzvah, you have a quinceañera, you have a christening, you have a communion, you have a holiday party. All these things are discretionary. And if you think about that, your livelihood is people paying you because they want to bring people together to celebrate something. Even if it's a celebration of life, it's still celebrating something. And that should get your energy up. Besides the fact they said no to everybody else, is to think, I say when you're not prospecting, when somebody reaches out to you, you want to find out three things. What's the occasion? Who's coming? And
yep,
then what does a successful outcome look like and feel like to you, not to me, to you? And then how can I make that happen?
those are the same questions you ask as a speaker.
Right.
What's the occasion?
Right.
Who's coming? And what does it look like for this program to be a success to you? It's the exact same questions that we ask, Alan,
Right.
but
Right.
to me, it feels like for the weddings, though, there's a level of a once in a lifetime, maybe, but
Mm.
once in a lifetime experience.
Right.
So how can you create a once in a lifetime experience for everyone involved?
Right. No, nobody goes into the wedding thinking they're going to do it again. Right. Right.
Exactly.
Right. And that's why they spend 50 to 60 billion dollars in this country on wedding receptions, because you're thinking, and again, we've been fortunate, one and
Yes, you
done.
have.
There you go.
Yes, you have, my
And,
friend.
but yet a cousin of mine got married before we did. Unfortunately, her husband passed. She
Oh
was
my
not
gosh,
looking
I'm
for
so
love.
sorry. Yep.
Love found her. She got
Yep.
married again. She never thought she'd have a second wedding. She thought they
Right.
would have been married forever, which if he hadn't passed, they would have been. Right. So it's those things is just, I think keeping the energy up is about just taking yourself out of it. Like you said, your backpack of baggage you're carrying is up to you to leave on or take off every time you walk in. But now let's turn around and say, okay, these people brought people together to celebrate something, and they chose me to be a part of that, to be a part of this. And if that doesn't bring your energy up, then you really have to question if you're in the right business.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And it's okay if you're not. I mean, here I am on a podcast to support wedding professionals, but I got to tell you, if it doesn't turn you on anymore. The world is changing and it's changing rapidly. One of the things I talk about is the rate of change. And we are literally living in a 200% rate of disruption right now,
Mm.
meaning that in the year 2019, the Global Disruption Index, I'm going to take a second on this, I think it's important, was at 5%, meaning that
Okay.
you could expect some kind of a big disruption somewhere in the world every 2 to 2.5 months. So, a climate disruption, a technological disruption, a political disruption, a financial disruption. Okay. You could
Mm.
expect that once every 2 to 2.5 months. In 2024, according to the Global Disruption Index, McKinsey, I believe it's a global McKinsey Global Disruption Index, we're at a 200%, meaning that you can expect one every week or two.
Wow.
Every week or two, you can
Mm.
expect some huge disruption. So
Yeah.
if you can if this doesn't do it for you anymore, probably there's been some disruptions that have happened, and this might not be your happy place anymore, or
Yeah.
take a break. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with taking 3 months off, going and exploring something. Go and attend a bunch of weddings. I was just in South Africa
Mm.
this past year, and which was the most incredible experience ever. I was there for almost 4 weeks. And I got to experience things there that don't happen in the United States. And I came back with a whole new perspective on events because I went to a bunch of events there that are different.
Right.
So maybe you go to some weddings, over in Asia or in Africa or somewhere,
Mm.
and then come back with a new perspective.
Well, or just you can go 2 states over and do this as well. It's just taking yourself out of wherever you are. Again, you and
You're
I
in
have had
Texas, go to Massachusetts. If you're in Massachusetts, go to Texas. You will
right.
have very different wedding experiences.
Right. And just life experiences, just the way people treat you and stuff like that. Sometimes you do just need to decompress and just get out of that. I was a guest on a podcast and they asked me, why do you do what you do? And I think everybody, if you're listening, I think you can relate to this. I do what I do because it fulfills two things. It brings you value and it brings me joy. So if you're doing this wedding, this kinsey, this mitzvah, this holiday party, this picnic, this whatever it is, and it's bringing value to the customers, excellent. And if it brings you joy to bring value to the customers, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. And I think that's what keeps me energized is I'm not going to get on that stage or do that sales training if it doesn't fulfill both of those. Because I follow that by saying, if it does both of those, I'll cash the check. Right.
Yes.
If it doesn't do both, I don't want the check because somebody's getting cheated. If you're not getting value, you're getting cheated. If I'm not getting joy, I'm being cheated. And I can't be giving you the best value if I'm being cheated because I'm not bringing my joy with this. So
So funny you should say that because I actually said to somebody the other day, they've not worked with me. They've seen me, they met me. I did a webinar in April of 2023, and I got an email in December of 2024. Carolyn, I've been thinking about you. I'm like, it was 18 months ago that I did this webinar for your organization.
right,
I mean, and it was like one of the, it was a contractors
right.
organization. And it was 18 months ago. And she's like, well, I've been thinking about reaching out. I'm like, well, yay and thanks. But after we talked, and she said, well, what does it cost and everything? And I said, well, let me tell you the value I'm going to create. And
Right.
then I told her, and I said, look, and if it doesn't bring you that value, don't pay me. And she said, what? And I said, honestly, if we get halfway through and it's not working for you, don't pay me the rest.
Right.
And she looked at me like I had three heads, but who doesn't do that? I don't understand being in a business that you wouldn't do that. So, as a florist, you deliver what they request, not what you want them to have. You can make
Right.
suggestions, but deliver
Right.
what they request.
Right. And if you're not the right fit, you tell them you're not the right fit and let them find somebody who is.
Or recommend somebody. One of
Right.
my things is
Yeah.
please be a resource.
Yeah.
The most important thing you can be in such a disruptive environment when things are changing so rapidly is a resource to other people. I mean,
Yeah.
Alan, you and I recommend each other all the time. I mean, we
Yeah.
can, we will, we do. You know what I mean? When we hear something that's right for each other and not necessarily for us, or maybe somebody, let's say Julie had beautiful flowers at her wedding and she sends her best friend to you, but what her best friend wants is not something. You don't do dried bouquets,
Right.
but you know somebody else who does.
Right.
Refer them, then you're still being of service to Julie and you're being of service to her best friend.
Yeah. I last story. I try to keep these to a half an hour.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No, we just keep talking. It's great. I was at an event and I heard somebody say, if you don't want to do the wedding, just give them a really high price. And I said, no, 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 no. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it, because the high price doesn't change the reason why you didn't want to do it. And now you're going to feel just dirty because you took the money and you still don't want to do it. Therefore, again, who's getting cheated here? You're both getting cheated. You're not getting joy. They can't be getting the full value if you don't want to do it, because whatever that reason was, maybe personality or location or timing or whatever, didn't go away because you charged them a high price. So if you don't want to do it, you don't do it, period. That's it. And leave that space open for someone who you do want to work with.
And recommend someone else. Keep them in your ecology if you possibly can.
Right, unless they're just really nasty people, and then just
right. Then yeah, then don't do their wedding and wish them lots of luck. Right. There's that.
Or if you recommend them to someone, it's for a whole different reason. But we won't go into that right now. So I'm going to put in the show notes all the way to contact you. But if somebody wanted to find out more about you, Carolyn, where would be the best place to go?
Well, my address is No, I'm kidding. You can go to carolynstrauss.com, CarolynStrauss.com, and all the stuff about me. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. You can call Alan personally. His phone number is, no, I'm kidding. And he can get you in touch with me too.
And I will talk all about polyester pants. So there we go. All right.
8 minutes.
Thanks so much for joining me, Carolyn. Thanks everybody for listening. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or a guest, please go to podcast.alanberg.com and you can make your suggestion there. You can also do it at Ask Me Anything, which is a button on that page, or just email me at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. And if you'd like to find out how I can help you with sales training, website review, consulting, or speaking for your group or organization, possibly at no cost to the organization, contact me directly, alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. Thanks again for tuning in.